Welcome to another episode of KGN Kosher. Today we are talking Purim cocktails. First up, we're going to build our first cocktail in the glass. Today we're using, don't mind the drop, Pistachio Arak, Yellowstone Bourbon, and chocolate bitters. This Pistachio Arak is more like a liqueur. It doesn't have a heavy anise flavor as normal Arak would, and it's 30% alcohol by volume. We're splitting the base with Yellowstone Bourbon, which has a nice nutty profile to it, which will pair well with this. And chocolate, of course, goes very well with pistachio. It's going to be a classic stirred cocktail. Not classic, it's going to be a stirred cocktail, kind of along the lines of the old fashioned style thing, but obviously a little bit different. We're going to start off with our Arak. We're going to do 1.5 ounces of Arak. We're going to do 1/2 ounce of bourbon to start. See where it goes from there. And we're going to do a few dashes, 4 dashes there of those chocolate bitters. Not cocoa bitters, they're chocolate bitters from Fee Brothers with a hechsher. Really cool. We're going to stir that up, give it a little taste. This is not as strong as a cocktail as a standard old fashioned, so a little less dilution won't be a massive issue. So stirring it over a big ice, it's fine. Let's see. Do a little taste. Get a lot of that pistachio Arak. Okay. It's a little sweet. I'm going to add another 1/2 ounce of the bourbon. So we bring that up to a total 1 ounce of bourbon, 1.5 ounces of the pistachio Arak. Make this 2.5 ounce cocktail plus ice, which is pretty standard for a stir drink. Stir that back up, right there. Okay, and we're going to garnish it with an orange peel. We're going to express those oils from the peel. Swipe it around the rim. Just drop it in real nicely on top of the ice. And try it. That's good. Now, to start, I am not generally an Arak guy. I don't really like Arak. This anise is super subtle in here. The pistachio is so nice. The bourbon just complements it. Bourbon usually is the forefront in a cocktail. This is taking it's taking a step back to allow the pistachio Arak to talk first. The bourbon is just adding a baseline of body and flavor and nuttiness and just some of the spices that bourbon brings. And overall, this is a great cocktail. It's on the sweeter side, although the bourbon really helps mellow that out, and the bitters as well. You get that chocolate just kind of coming in throughout. Beautiful balance and really tasty. This is a fun cocktail. What are we calling it? I don't know. We'll come up with something. Next up, we are creating a brand new cocktail. This one is going to be shaken. I am trying this one more time. I dropped a few more times before. Look at that. I have not played around with this before. This is a concept. From what I've read and from what I've looked up, it's kind of a variation on a punch of sorts. It's definitely more tiki style, so I'm going to tap into that kind of tiki vibe and move out from there. This one is meant to kind of feel and taste like a berry Hamantasch. So we're going for that kind of jelly flavor. We're going for the kind of profiles you might get from the dough and the overall thought. So none of that was English. So I'm gonna grab my ingredients. We're gonna start creating this in the tin. Taste it as I go. We'll see what happens. Okay, we're using these couple dashes of elemakule tiki bitters from Bittermens. It's very cool. A lot of spices. What are they? A tropical blend of cinnamon, allspice, and island spices. So next up, we're going to do kind of like a punch recipe. We're splitting our sweet, so we're going with half an ounce of Combier Framboise, which is a raspberry liqueur. It's pretty intense, so half an ounce usually will show up well in a cocktail. We're doing half an ounce of vanilla syrup, which is super yummy, and made just the other day. And very thick. It's weird. We're going to go with a full ounce of lime juice. And 2 ounces of our dark rum. I'm using the Don Q Añejo, 7-year aged. Okay, that's nice. I'm getting the raspberry definitely enough, and the lime first. I'm wondering if I should put in any crème de cassis in here to get a little more of that jelly taste and texture. And this is not it's not overly sweet. So, I'm going to start with a Barspoon of that and give it a taste. I think it's going to be good. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah, I like what that's heading. I think that's more than enough. I'm going to grab our coupe. Add a couple of chunks of ice. And give it a nice hard shake. And I'm going to double strain that into my coupe. There. Okay, we'll do a taste. So, off the top, it's nicely balanced. It pops with a little bit of citrus, and I get the berry, the raspberry, the cassis, which is a black currant. The rum is not talking too much. I could have gone with a kind of a heavier rum, a little more flavor to it, but it's sitting there, and then just the spice of the bitters all coming in. Honestly, that's good. Does it really taste that much like a Hamantasch? It has a jelly part, I think, right? I thought the rum would give it a little more of that, and the vanilla syrup, which I'm kind of missing in there. Would give it a little more of that, dough taste and texture, which is not totally there, but that's fine. Because we're playing around, and that's a really tasty cocktail, so I'm going to stick with it. And we're calling this the Hamantasch Punch. Okay. Next up, we're going to do what is essentially a play on the champagne cocktail. Champagne cocktails are normally going to be cognac or brandy, sugar, bitters, and then champagne. Okay, to start off, I'm going to take a sugar cube, douse it in bitters inside of my cup right here. It's nice and covered. Another dash. I'm going to put the drink over that, and it's going to slowly kind of get into the cocktail. I'm going to do, I put my bottle down already. You're going to be confused, but it doesn't matter. We're going to do a fat quarter ounce of apricot flavored brandy. Just something to bring a little flavor and a little bit of kind of character to the rest of the cocktail. I'm going to put some ice and stir that. So let's grab some ice. Real quick. Mainly just want to get that cool and diluted. Otherwise, it's going to be much stronger than it should be. I'm going to pour that right over the sugar cube with the bitters on it. And then we're going to top that with champagne. Yes, I am opening an entire bottle of champagne for this drink. Good Lord. We're just going to top this off with cold champagne now. Right there. That looks good enough to me. And we're going to garnish that with a lemon peel. Just express the oils. Wipe the rim and drop it in. Let's taste that. It's good. I mean, kind of pretty much a classic champagne cocktail. Get a little more of the fruit from the apricot brandy. Rich apricot jelly, apricot brandy. It's definitely there. Champagne is kind of yeasty, which, if you're thinking Hamantasch, kind of leans into that a little bit. It's interesting. Maybe in the other cocktail that would have been kind of fun to do, but this is just an easy twist on the champagne cocktail for your Purim party or for whatever, and to make it a little more Purim-y. Tasty, this is fun. I could drink these all day. So I'm going to put this to the side so I can finish up this video before, you know. Ooh. Next up is another stirred cocktail. We're going to build this in the stirring glass and then put it in the cup. This one, we're using Zachlawi Fig Arak. This is a 40% alcohol by volume Arak. It has got a lot of sweetness to it, so I'm not going to add any sweetener to this. I'm doing kind of like an old fashioned. We're building it that way, and we'll see where it goes. So start off with 4 dashes of Angostura Bitters, 2 full ounces of Arak, and I want something with a little bit of bitterness, more than just the bitters, and flavor to help offset that sweetness and the intensity of the Arak. So I'm using just a 1/4 ounce of this Jelenik Amaro liqueur. It carries a whole bunch. It's just going to be a lot of different, maybe a little bitterness, a touch of sweetness in there, and a lot of different flavors that will help play in with this cocktail. We're going to add in our ice and stir that up. For 1 nice big rock in the glass. We're going to garnish that with a lemon peel. Put that around the rim, drop that right in, and taste. I love the smell of lemon at the top of a drink. So good. Okay, ooh, the lemon plays in really nicely with that. First I get hit right away with the sweetness, that Fig Arak, then just a touch of bitterness at the end from the Amaro. It's an interesting drink. It's sweet. I don't know if there's anything I could do to cut the sweetness other than to kind of do like a split base than I did last time. I don't want to add more of the Amaro because I think that's already playing in nicely, and if I add more, it's going to offset the balance. If you like your sweeter kind of stirred cocktails, this is nice. A little more desserty maybe. But it's good. A lot of good flavor, a lot of spices. And there's just the Fig Arak in there. Really, it's nice. I like that. Slow sipper though. It's a little sweet for me, a little heavy. But I like it. Okay, what are we calling that? So you'll see, by the way, with the champagne cocktail, how the sugar cube has kind of, if you can see, broken down a little bit. So the sweetness and the bitters have both come into the cocktail just a little bit more. And it just gives it a little more spice, a little more oomph. So kind of, it evolves as it sits in the glass. It's really cool. Next up, we're going to do something super simple, okay? This is off the fly. This is just a thought process. Work with me here. We're going to make this kind of like a simplified gin fizz style cocktail. Let's grab our stuff. But I'm going to use Miami Lychee Arak, or Lychee, as it's, I think, officially done. Let's give this a quick taste. It's sweet. It's not very Arak-y. More like a liqueur. A little bit of anise. And honestly, it just tastes fruity. I don't see that being lychee more than anything else, but do I, you know, I'm gonna throw some gin in this mix as well. What do we have? Perfect. We're gonna do Tanqueray gin. So we get the Tanqueray gin right here, London dry gin. We are gonna build this straight into the glass, like a Collins drink. I'm gonna do 1 ounce of, actually I'm gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of the gin, because that Arak didn't have a ton of oomph to it, and I want it to still speak. I'm gonna do 1 and like 1/2 ounces of the Arak, because this is lower alcohol, so it's still not gonna be that strong of a drink. We're gonna do, where's our lemon juice? Right here. We're gonna do a full ounce of lemon juice. We're gonna add an ice and some soda. So just a couple of big pieces, a little stir in the glass. Get it all mixed up and a little bit diluted. Which of course the soda water should be doing the rest of that dilution for us. So that's the game plan. Pop in our club soda. Top it all the way off. Whoop. Nicely to the top. Just give it a quick, like this, so that the soda really mixes all the way in. And lemon goes with lemon, right? Just give it a nice little lemon twist. Just lay it across the top like that. Nice and pretty. I think the right thing to do with this is use a straw. So let's try that. Tart. You could probably use a little bit of sugar. I don't think this was sweet enough. I thought it would be. I could use a splash of simple syrup, and at this point I mean like a Barspoon splash. Let's give that a retaste. Pull this out for a second so we can get lost in there. Just stir it in with the. Let me see. That's good. That's good. Maybe a slightly bigger glass next time. Let's do this again. Smell lemony. That's definitely all I needed. Just a bar spoon, balance it out. I am now tasting the Miami Arak in there as well. Not really anise, but just some of that fruity flavors. The gin behind it, and then the lemon. It's actually pretty fun. That's refreshing. It's nice. It's really good. It's just a little Miami Arak Collins. Last but not least, let's make one more drink. We're at drink number 6. We have made it all the way through the list. We have tried lots of new options, new cocktails that I think are great. But I'm going to go back to kind of a classic. Haven't yet done the whiskey sour as a video yet. It is in the works and will be released probably relatively soon. But I'm jumping ahead of the game, and I'm going to bring to you the New York Sour. This is a pretty famous drink. It has a more of a recent cocktail, and the reason I'm doing this is because this has a red wine float. This is probably the most famous cocktail with a red wine float. And red wine, Purim, alcohol, Purim, I feel like it's just one of those things that work together. It popped straight into my head when I thought of this idea of doing a Purim cocktail video. And since it popped into my head, I figured that's a good reason to do it. Egg white. Now, many people think with, New York Sour, no egg white. Or what the heck, egg white you're doing in a sour. I'm going to cover the whole basis of the egg white and the sours in another video, which will not be linked because it hasn't been created yet. It's so funny. But I think you can make a perfectly good New York Sour while still using the egg white and floating the red wine. And what this does right here, the texture of the cocktail is unparalleled, and I left right in my sour, so I'm going to do this anyways. I'm actually going to start off by cracking my egg white. I don't know why I switch sides into my big tin. Get a nice hard thing. You do that in a separate tin that you make the cocktail in. Most people do this afterwards. It doesn't really matter because if it breaks or messes up and you don't want to have ruined the entirety of the cocktail that you just created, I'm going to save this yolk. We're going to start by building our cocktail straight into our small tin. I'm going to add some Angostura Bitters to it straight. Normally I use it as a garnish on top of the sour. I'm putting this straight in this time, and you'll see why. That's, of course, if what I plan on doing works out properly. Next up, we're going to start with our simple syrup. 1 short ounce, so almost a full ounce. It's really 2-1-1. I usually do a full ounce, but this is a 2-to-1 simple syrup. And I like mine just a little less sweet, so I'm going to do just under a full ounce. But for all intents and purposes, it's a full ounce of simple syrup and a full ounce of lemon juice. 2 ounces of our bourbon. Bourbon is whiskey. Whiskey is the all-encompassing term for spirits made from grains that are aged in barrels for a certain amount of time and are at least 40% alcohol by volume. Whiskey sours are made with bourbon pretty much every time, so that's whiskey. What now we're going to do is we're going to put this all together. I feel like it's all the ingredients, everything. 2, 1, 1, yeah. And we're going to give it what's called a dry shake. It means shaking with no ice. This is to calcify or to really allow I think calcify means to integrate the proteins through aeration into the egg to cause a very thick foam. When you do that with ice first, the foam doesn't hit the same way, so you dry shake it first and then you add ice. Some people like to do a reverse dry shake. I find it less effective. I'm going to do it this way. The problem is the pressure builds up and this could explode everywhere. So we'll see. It's a good workout though. You know what I'm saying? Perfect. It's starting to leak only a little bit. We're going to drop 1 big tin, big cube, and then some smaller cubes for dilution. What Dave Arnold has found to be the most effective way to mix your cocktail. We're going to pop that back on and shake it again for another 10 to 12 seconds. Boom. Let's put that there. We're going to double strain this into a rocks glass right here. The double straining just helps with getting out the little ice shards. And then we're going to wait for that foam to settle. For all of you out there who open wine all the time, number 1, always cut off the foil. Don't pull the cork through the foil. Please don't cut the cork. Please don't pull the cork through the foil. The foil is metal. It will affect the taste of your wine. Also, it just looks ugly. It's not that hard. Right under the lip. It's beautiful. It's easy. It's nice. As you see, your foam is starting to come to the top. This one's going to be fun. We're going to try to pour this very slowly over the back of the spoon so that it doesn't layer off. I think I'm a little off center, so let's do this right here. We want it to float. We're going to dip this right into the cocktail, and we're just going to slowly pour the wine right onto it. You got it right there. I want it to get all the way to the other side, so I'm just going to add a little bit more right here. Ooh. That kind of spilled off. We have our red wine float sitting in there under the egg white, which is perfect. As I said, I didn't put the bitters on top this time because I have a little bit of red wine just kind of sitting in the corners on the top of the glass and it doesn't look super pretty. So I'm going to start taking my cocktail pick. I'm just going to pull in a few different ways to just pretty that up. Try to make that look like a garnish. Look at that. That looks really nice. It's well floated. And it has the foam of the egg white, which is the winner of winners. This looks so good. I'm going to give this a taste. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is good. That is very good. That is balanced. That's flavorful. The wine gives it a texture. The egg white gives it a texture. Then you just get that classic whiskey sour underneath, which is so good. It's a good cocktail. That's good. That is balanced. Yeah. Egg white for sure is a must, even with this. You can make it look nice. I did it myself. That is a great cocktail. Is this Purim specific? No. Did it remind me of Purim when I thought of Purim ideas? This is what came to my mind. And it's just a great cocktail to know. Listen, if you're at home, if you're scared of egg white, there are vegan options like aquafaba, which is I think like the liquid that they put in chickpeas or something. There's some other like foaming options, or you can skip the foam and just do the red wine float. And in fact, if you're gonna skip the egg white or the foam as a whole, I recommend inputting the red wine and making just into a New York sour, because that does add texture in itself, because dry red wine, so yes, specifically when you use dry red wine, I used a kind of a California Cabernet, has a little fruitiness to it, but is dry. That adds texture to your palate, to your tongue, because the dryness, hits your tongue first, and then the rest of the cocktail comes in, because it's right underneath, so you get a little wine, a little cocktail, and that adds a nice texture to it as well, so that is a plus in my books. This is a fantastic cocktail, so yeah. Whew. I think that's the end of our video. Let's see. Let's do our recap. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 and a coop. This is our roundup of our cocktails that we did tonight. We have our Esther's drink, the Hamantasch Punch, even though it's served up. It's interesting. We had the Fig Old Fashioned. Put it that way, Fig Arak Old Fashioned. Our Apricot Champagne Cocktail, our Lychee Collins, and the classic New York Sour. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending this time with me. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you really enjoyed this, drop a comment. If there's anything else you want me to cover, please drop a comment. Share this with your friends and family, because I'm trying to make it big, and right now, I'm small. So help me out. Now, it is 12:50 in the morning. I have to clean up and wake up really early, so KgnMixology out.